Welcome to Drinks Coach. Yeah, episode 15, series 2. We continue. You know that I've been doing these sort of roundups of the press tastings over autumn and winter. They continue, and I'm still trying to show you the best wines available out there for the festive season. You are watching the Drinks Coach, and get hold of me on @VineSack if you're on Instagram or Twitter, or indeed if it's pertaining to the show, you'll find Drinks Coach is on there as well. At Drinks Coach UK or lowercase. So we've done a few supermarkets. We've done lots and lots of shows on some very sexy wines, going from Lee and Sanham and fine wine merchants, some beautiful, very fine, more serious wines, if you like. We've had some terrific wines from the other major supermarkets, Sainsbury's and so forth, Waitrose, Majestic. Tesco's, I think, shone very well this year because the Tesco's Finest range has some wonderfully exciting and very well priced new additions, and I think they're just doing a good job. Now this is one that I've been very excited about, because until I look back at the notes I didn't realise how much I'd enjoyed this show. Not only that, but Lauren and Kieran in the PR office at the Co-op up in Manchester, thank you very much for sending me so many wines. I told them which wines I liked. They pretty much sent them all to me. And because they've sent them all to me, I'm going to show them all to you, which means that a lot less drivel in this show, hopefully. I will just get on with it, talk about the wines and move on, because we've got 7 white wines to show you, including the fizzes, and 8 red wines tomorrow. So that's an awful lot of wine to get through, and they're all really terrific. And I was looking at them and trying to think of wines that I could pull out and put into another show. No, they all have a reason to be here, and if I don't put them up now, you won't know about them to buy them before Christmas. So, there we go. That's the blurb for today. So, where are we going to start? We're going to start with some fizz, and no better place to start than with a fizz that we haven't shown in this run yet, which is Cava. This is the first Cava I've shown. I think, if I'm a betting man, we have seen this Cava before. And I did ask for it from Majestic, but I think they call it something else. I think there's a wine called Non Plus Ultra. This wine is called Gran Crémant Eco Vintage. And if they are indeed different wines, they're both excellent. And I both have a very similar memory of them. What's really nice about this Cava is Codorniu they started Cava, okay? And I think it was Jaume Raventos back in the early 1920s, 30s, was a cellar master at Tattinger, I believe, and came back and said, "Hey, Dad, I found the new thing. What's that? Fizzy wine." And they went, "It won't catch on." But then clearly it did, because they make twice as much Cava as they do champagne. I don't know if you know that, but it's the largest production sparkling wine region in the world still. So, Codorniu, been making wine since 1551. Can you believe that? Of course not Cava. I mean, it's only been around for about 100 years. But since 1551, they're making wine as a family in this region. And we're going to start off with this Gran Crémant, made by good old Bruno. Bruno, who is the chief winemaker at Codorniu, is a phenomenal talent. He studied winemaking in Burgundy initially. I did an interview with him on TV, on Instagram not long ago. And he speaks reasonably good English, but much better French, and of course Spanish and Catalan. But Bruno has been there as long as I've been kind of involved in working with Codorniu over the years, and I think I went over to visit in about 2000, and Bruno just started, maybe in 2003 or something, not sure. But anyway, we're going to pour ourselves some of this. Why am I excited about this particular Cava? Why this Cava and not others? First of all, it's a tenner. That's around £10 for a decent bottle of fizz is a good place to start. You see that label? It says Gran Crémant, Codorniu, and it says Brut, and underneath the Brut it says organic as well. And also you can see on the side here there's some, I think, kind of sustainability badge or something like that. What's great about this wine is not only is it 10 quid and it's extremely well made, and it's kind of ground zero for Cava Codorniu, but also it's made from the 3 original traditional grapes. There's no Pinot Noir, no Chardonnay inside. If I want Pinot and Chardonnay, I tend to go with other places. I'm not saying there aren't fantastic sparkling wines in Spain that include those 2 varieties. I'm just saying that I like my drinks to be OG. I like my Chianti to be straight Sangiovese, no Merlot, no Cabernet. And I like my Cava to be Macabeo, Prela and Charolata. Anyway, so let's have a look at this. It's quite pale in colour. I remember it had some sugar in this. I can't remember exactly how much. I could probably look it up. Just making sure I got the price right. Where are we? There we go. It's not even reading my thumb anymore. Probably from having too many bottles of wine. Yeah, it is a tenner exactly on the nose. The other thing about Bruno's business is they've got a new CEO who's come in and said absolute no compromise, without compromise winemaking. If you need something, we'll get it. We want to be the world's best wine company as soon as it's humanly possible, which is wonderful. When things are down and the world's in a place of recession, I think it's quite nice for people to still not let that get them down and to be shooting for the stars. And Codorniu as a business is certainly doing that. They have vineyards in Rioja, they have vineyards in Ribera del Duero, they have, I think, vineyards overseas, they have, well, not in Spain, I mean, they have a wonderful Priorat called what's it, Scala Dei, Stairway to Heaven. Nice Zeppelin reference there. But Bruno, when I asked him, I was told that he was the largest grower of organic wines in Spain. And I said, isn't it like 4.5 million bottles that you produce now at Codorniu organic? And he went, no, it's all organic. And I don't think anybody realised at the time, but that probably makes him the largest organic producer in the world. We're talking hundreds of millions of bottles here. And that's pretty amazing. So if you're talking about looking after the environment and improving things, Codorniu are right on the cusp. And I think they've gone B Corp as well, which is the buzzword at the moment, which means that people are looked after. There's not just sustainability, but the workforce is looked after also. Anyway, so got a lovely smell. There is some autolysis, that kind of biscuitiness that you get from moderately expensive sparkling wines in this sort of like champagne mould. But when you smell it, there is a notion that it isn't champagne. You can still smell the flavours of cover. You can smell, I don't know, just a hint of beeswax. There's a bit of lime involved. I'm just going to turn this off in the background. I think that's, yeah, there you are. It's a bit darker, but that was the TV on in the background. It was just giving me a bit of glare. There you are. That's fantastic. That's better. Okay, right. So, lovely. What I like about it is it's dry, it tastes dry, and it's got savoury components. In Catalonia, in Barcelona, everything's served with food. You know that. The whole tapas culture across Spain and Catalonia is very much about having a little nibble of this and a little sip of that. And although it's very, very common to drink dry sherry with hams and that sort of thing, we're not in Jerez here, we're in Catalonia, and this is the perfect match with a nice bit of jamón de serrano or a nice bit of manchego cheese. And it's very much a case of pig and fizz in Barcelona, and it works very well. Anyway, I think for £10, this is flipping delicious. Packaging looks naughtily great. Anyway, that's not the only good fizz we've got at Co-op. There's this. I asked Ben, in charge of bubbles in France, in Co-op, my good friend Ben, how come the Co-op is still being able to buy wine from this company and sell it as an own label? I say that because I used to be a supermarket wine buyer for various supermarkets, not least for 5 years at Waitrose. And Waitrose's wines were largely made by P&C Heidsieck, that is Piper and Charles Heidsieck. Among the cognoscenti, largely considered the best champagne company in the world. I mean, it's not all Krug, but at every level, those wines are fantastic. Piper Heidsieck as an immediate fizz to drink is outstanding quality. Charles Heidsieck is next level. And now Charles Heidsieck is bottled in a slightly different shaped bottle. And I assume that was so that we knew that the wine that came from Charles Heidsieck was only made by Charles Heidsieck and there were no pretenders and they weren't selling it off under label elsewhere. But this is from P&C Heidsieck. It's still called the Pioneers, Les Pionniers, non-vintage. There's a vintage one too, I might like to add. But the other thing is, we've mentioned two really, really good fizzes so far. There was one from Adnams, the H. Blinn sourced Adnams Meunier Heavy Fizz, which was delicious at about £26. Then there was the Waitrose Blanc de Noir, $26.99 or $49 or something, which is also absolutely delicious. Well, this is made by my favourite champagne house, Piper and Charles Heidsieck, and it's £21.50. Let's see what it looks like. £21.50 for supermarket champagne. That's definitely entry level. Okay, let's see what this has to offer. Lovely. So many wines to get through this week. After I'm going to do the co-op tasting today, do the red wine tasting tomorrow. I think I'm going to do the Wine Society after that. Then I'm doing Davies Wine Merchants after that. So they'll be coming at you relentlessly over the next few days. Just trying to pace myself. There's a lot of work to get through. It's just so classy. Clean, pin perfect. There's detail. It's like Canaletto, it's very precise wine. A precision that probably you only find these days in English fizz at this sort of price point. But it's definitely there. Okay, it's young, but quite delicious. Lovely biscuity back note. Lovely clean apple fruit. Crab apple maybe. In no way bitter, but it has a firm tartness. You get that kind of tart acid, a malic apple acid in the wine, which I think makes these wines just so mouth-watering and delicious and quaffable. Perfect for your smoked salmon canapes on Christmas Day, I imagine. Wow. So, Codorniu Cava, £10. Les Pionniers Champagne, made by PNC High-Tech, for $21.50. Flipping marvellous. Right, let's move it on. This wine was inexpensive, right? This is a wine that I think they used to sell it maybe in Asda under the name La Forge, but this is made by the ubiquitous Jean-Claude Masse or Jean-Paul Masse company. And this is a wine on the Irresistible range, a co-op. It's Marsanne 2022. Now, you don't see many own label Marsannes knocking about. And if I remember rightly, the famous Tim Atkin, one of the most prolific wine journalists of our age, one of the most knowledgeable, actually had this as his white wine at his wedding. That's right. Okay, so this is only, I say only, prices are going up, thanks Rishi, £8.50. £8.50 for a premium white wine, no one's complaining about that. It's got a lovely colour, got a pale straw to it. What's Marsanne about? Well, Marsanne, to start with, is one of the great varieties from the northern Rhone. So if you're in France and you go down the east side, you've got sort of Paris here, and then you get to Chablis, and then it's Burgundy, and then it's Beaujolais, and then you're in the Rhone, and then down to Provence. So the Rhone is the bottom bit, but this is the northern Rhone. So it's actually remarkably high up the country and very far inland. And Marsanne, along with Roussanne, are the two brother, whatever you like to call them, great varieties which are capable of making really incredible age-worthy wines, the most famous of which is Hermitage Blanc. I drank, not that long ago, from the greatest producer of all, Jean-Louis Chave, a bottle of 1988 Hermitage Blanc at a lunch which I brought. And the wine was in absolutely perfect condition. There was no sign of age in the wine at all, not really looking like it was going to fall over anyway. There was no caramelization. It was just a wine that had got older. An elegant wine as well. So anyway, what we've got here is a very, very young Marsanne. I think of the two, Roussanne is seen to be the more refined, I think, possibly. But Marsanne is a great variety which can handle a lot of heat and produce wines of good texture. But what I think Hugh Johnson used to call, very famous wine journalist and wine writer, he used to call it cut. It probably still does. I mean, he's still around, right? So, cut is that sense that even though you've got a very warm wine from a warm country and it's a warm vintage, there's still a crispness, an acidity. There's a defined edge. It's not wobbly like some wines from very warm countries are. They can tend to be a bit of like diffuse and nebulous and lacking boundaries. This wine, Marsanne, rarely falls into that trap. The largest grower of Marsanne in the world, somebody obviously got very convinced by it, was the great Eric Perbrick back in the day at Château de Bilk. Château de Bilk is an estate, sounds like it's possibly from Europe, but it's not. It's from Australia, and it's in Victoria. I think it's the third oldest winery in Australia. And they planted a lot of Marsanne. I believe they've got about 250 acres. And that area around the Goulburn Valley is very famous for growing Marsanne. There's Mitchelton's next door as well. And it's their thing. What would be a good example of that happening elsewhere? Yalumba in the Barossa Valley and in the surrounding areas grows a lot of Viognier. They were so taken by Viognier, of which there was a very, very small amount being made in France at the time. Surely you come across it. they grow hundreds and hundreds of acres of Viognier. They're not the largest producer of Viognier. There's a company in Washington State, which is called Chateau Saint Michel, largest grower of Riesling in the world. You see, when people get obsessed with something and it's successful, they grow it. They can. They don't have the limitations of the regulations of the country. They don't have the limitations of geographical boundaries. In these countries, they can just grow the business bigger and bigger. Hence the reason why the largest producers of Marsanne, Viognier and Riesling are all non-European. Okay, so I love this wine. It's got a taste of grassiness about it. I say grassy, chlorophyllc. There's something green, a bit like, you know, if you get a really juicy basil leaf, it's very fragrant, but when you rub it, it's almost like oil comes out. It goes all kind of mushy, like a really juicy spinach leaf. There's that kind of traction in the wine, kind of a lovely green, but very wholesome, almost wheatgrassy nature about it. But it's not unripe. It's just there. There's this sort of juicy leafiness to it. Nice taste of pear, clean, crisp. 8.50 all day long. Brilliant wine for all sorts of purposes. It would go with food, go without. Perfectly fine with roast chicken, perfectly fine in a glass with just like a packet of crisps or something for Christmas. Okay, moving on, as we have to. This is from Salento in Puglia in the south. This is right down the heel of Italy. And it's called Miluna. I love that packaging, isn't it? That cool. It looks like the tattoo that they have if you're a member of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Well, I'm sailing. It's like Blood Sugar Sex Magic. The album from 1991 has a tattoo that looks a bit like that. But it says, yeah, Vermentino, which it says at the bottom as well. So Vermentino is the grape variety that's in here. What price are we at here? Come on, son. Just not letting me get into my own iPad. £9. So an extra quid. Nice heavy packaging, very smart, very cool. I think it'd be great at a party. So what is Vermentino? Well, Vermentino is many things and can be many things. And some Vermentino is up here and some Vermentino is very much definitely down here. It's the same grape variety as you would call in France Uni Blanc. And Uni Blanc is largely considered to be the most neutral and boring white grape variety known to humankind. But that can't be true, really, because of the amazing things it creates. Uni Blanc is one of the grape varieties that we need in order to make cognac, for example. I'm a massive fan of oat grape brandies, and cognac is a truly magnificent liquid, without which Uni Blanc, without Uni Blanc, it would not be the thing that it is. So let's start there. But also, if you have very, very restricted yields and you grow Uni Blanc, old vine Uni Blanc, in the sunshine, and you know what you're doing, and you create concentration of drink, it actually becomes quite textured and quite delicious. There's a grape variety in the Provence, which goes into rosés and white wines of the Provence and Bordeaux, which is called Roller. Same grape variety. But again, it's down by the sea. It has a salinity, it has a concentration. It's nothing boring about it. The thing is, if you just leave Uni Blanc to grow, you can get like 10 tons, 20 tons, 25 tons to the acre of very dilute, thin wine. But if you give it boundaries, it can surprise you. There's quite a lot of Vermentino, for example, grown in Sardinia. There's one that I particularly love from a company called Argiolas. And it's the perfect thing with like deep fried calamari and prawns and that kind of thing. Beautiful tropical nose. Smell of guava. I think guava, a bit of pineapple maybe, definite mango in there. It's only 12.5% alcohol, so it's got all this flavour and texture without too much kicking the balls. I really like that. Yeah. It's like, the aftertaste is like, I've been at Notting Hill Carnival and I've ordered a glass of rum punch. And the aftertaste is there's a faint taste of very ripe grapefruit and banana. And that's the taste you get at the end of a proper rum punch. Yeah, delicious. Yes, 3 more to go. How are we doing for time? We're doing okay. Right, so let's open this one. You might have seen this word bandied around at the beginning of the show. Yes, this is also from Codorniu. Remember I told you that the sparkling wine, the Carver, that they produced the first Carver, but also they made wine since 1551? Well, look at that label. Big, proud emblazonment of Codorniu on the front. Codorniu, Costas del Segre, which is in Catalonia, in West Catalonia, right on the border with sort of like the areas of Valencia and going further inland of Aragon. And Costa del Segre, this is Albariño. Now, Albariño is a grape variety which we are maybe familiar with. I've raved about it on the show before. I've had one or two shows. One which I did in the garden a couple of summers ago, which was absolutely divine. Some of the finest Albariños from the region of Rías Baixas in the northwest of Spain. Look back at that show, because there's some incredible wines in there which I wish would just hear right now. They're some of the best wines I've ever drunk, actually. And this grape variety, in fact, has been planted to a high degree of success in some of the larger plantations in Catalonia, in Penedès, in the kind of extreme east of the Spanish wine regions. And Costa del Segre has one area in it which is called Reimat. In fact, the winery is called Reimat, a part of the Codorniu group, and this in fact is a wine grown at Reimat, bottled by Reimat. But obviously I think they're trying to unite Codorniu as a sort of like a, I don't know, a one-stop shop perhaps for wine. And so rather than saying Reimat on the front, which was a very, very popular label back in the 90s, particularly for their big oaky reds, and very good Chardonnay, if I remember. Now just got Codorniu on the label. And so, Albariño, as hip as you like, Albariño, the most fashionable grape variety out there probably. Sometimes smells of stone fruits. Here we go again, lovely smell of dry apricots, a bit of steeliness to it. This wine has also a kind of an oyster shelly, stony quality about it. It's got some breadth. It's 12% alcohol. I thought it was going to be higher than that, but I suspect that's because it's not as high in acidity as I think some examples that I've tried from Rías Baixas. It's like 90% of the job, right? It's Albariño. Albariño's can be very expensive. Good Rías Baixas costs like around the £20 territory these days, and I'm pleased to say this wine's nothing like that. I think this wine's around 12 quid, I think it is. But it's a lovely wine, good packaging, solid, and another sort of standard bearer for Codorniu. It just shows you how clever they are as a business and how well they're running at the moment. I'm not sure if Bruno Colomer is making this wine as well. Perhaps he is. Yeah, need some fish. I think that would be amazing with fish and chips. Deep fried haddock chips, bit of mushy peas, lots of vinegar. Bob's your uncle. Fantastic. Two more to go. We're at the finer end here. Now we've got Robert Oatley's Semaphore Chardonnay, which I think is only a shade over a tenner. Robert Oatley. So Robert Oatley is a brand which is really kind of like taken Britain by storm. Certainly at this sort of price point, they're capable of making very, very good wines, in fact. And their premium Cabernet Finistère, which is an absolute joy, will feature in a premium Cabernet show before Christmas, or if not just after, which I've got lined up. But to show that at both the entry level, around the £10-12 mark, and the premium level, around the £40 to £50 mark, they can really achieve things. Let's have a try of this. It's made by the chief winemaker, Robert Oatley, who is somebody that I've known over the years and is one of the absolute geniuses of winemaking in Australia. I don't mind saying this. I'm sure he won't mind me saying it, although he's quite humble about it these days. And his name's Larry Cherubino. Larry Cherubino was a significant winemaker at places like Hardy's before it changed, made extraordinary wines. But this is really where I think his sweet spot is. He made a wine called, I think it was called Gladstone's Cabernet Sauvignon 1991 from Pemberton in the Western Australia, which was the closest thing I'd ever tasted to sort of Cru Classé Bordeaux at the time in Australia. So, I mean, he's capable of doing all sorts of magical things. So if you're looking for a New World Chardonnay, this isn't big, fat and buttery. They don't do that anymore. It has a lovely floral, sort of almost lilac-y lift. Clean, toothsome. Doesn't taste like it's gone through malolactic. That means to say that the wine has gone through an alcoholic fermentation and the sugar's turned into alcohol. But it hasn't then been bacterially spoiled to raise the alcohol and increase the the mouthfeel of the wine, which is something that you can do quite easily with a bacteria called Leuconostoc bacteria, and it's done in the barrel usually, but can be done in tank as well. You can taste a little bit of wood here. I believe about 10 to 15% of the wine has been aged in barrels or been barrel fermented to give this wine a kiss of class, and it shows. I almost want to put this in the decanter and let it open up a bit, because I think this tastes better once it's had some air to breathe. If you're maybe watching this and you're interested in wine for the first time, and you're maybe a young viewer, maybe a student or something at university perhaps, and you're having your first maybe Christmas alone at university. I know it sounds odd, most people go back and see their parents, but maybe that's not happening this year. Maybe you're having a roast chicken with your first Christmas alone with your girlfriend or wife or boyfriend or whatever it is. This would be a really nice choice with roast chicken, with all sorts of like snacks, the snackettes. You get the little salmony, prawny, crabby, scallopy things that you get at Christmas. They're all delicious with this. That lovely lemony acidity works very well with that, but also it works very well with fowl, and it wouldn't go badly with roast turkey as well. So I'd just recommend that as a one-stop shop. It's only about a tenner, but it's very, very seriously classy. Okay, going on to the last wine. Now, this is not the cheapest wine on the lineup. In fact, anything but I have plenty to say about it. Le Dauphin d'Olivier. No, I did not check the price. So it's a good job I've got this here. Where are we? Just bear with me a second. Yes, okay, it's £17.50. It looks £17.50 though, doesn't it? It looks all grown up and posh. Yes, this is a little taster of one of the great white wines of France that we tend to miss. The real wine lovers watching this show and the people in the trade know all about this, but you know, if you're finding that Chablis and even basic Macon is now costing 25 quid, and you're just feeling like you're being robbed a little bit because the prices of Burgundy have gone up so much, remember, Bordeaux makes an awful lot of oaked whites. Some age forever, some are beautiful to drink young, and everything in between. And if you've got Bordeaux like this, and you've got the Gironde that goes up into the Atlantic, there's a region that goes south. And just at the top of that is where one of the most famous wines in the world comes from, Chateau Haut-Briand, the first Premier Grand Cru Classé. Top dog wine in the whole of Bordeaux, at least on paper anyway. And then further down, you've got a little region which Haut-Briand's included, called Pessac-Léognan. And Pessac-Léognan used to be part of the larger appellation of Grave, which means gravel. And yes, there is gravel in the ground. There's gravel, there's seashells, it has a water retention table that's relatively close to the surface, but not so close that it makes the wines dilute. And it has fantastic terroir for both red and white wines. The reds tend to be quite savoury, tend to be maybe slightly less shiny and polished, but have great flavour and toothsomeness. And people can know what they're doing. Veronique Saunders, for example, at Chateau Haut-Bailly, make wines that are sublimely elegant, almost Burgundian there. This is the second wine of Chateau Olivier. Chateau Olivier is, in fact, Chateau Oliver as well, is in fact one of the oldest wineries in the region. I think they've been making wine at that place for a very, very, very long time. I think that area had winemaking performed by the Romans back in the 30s. No, it wouldn't have been Romans, but certainly been making wine there since the Dark Ages. I think it's owned by an American family now, but Chateau Olivier is one of the handful of very famous Pessac-Léognan white wine producers that make wines from largely Sauvignon Blanc, maybe with a little bit of Semillon. In this case, it's 50-50, Sauvignon Blanc and Semillon, which is the classic blend for white Bordeaux. And these wines taste utterly delicious when they're young. Even if they've had some oak aging, which it has, they taste fantastic with things like oysters. Some of the best oysters in the world come from just around the corner in Bassin d'Arcachon. But also very, very nice with things like gratins, things like artichokes, and all sorts of wonderful fresh food, which at different times of the year are available in Bordeaux. Part of the absolutely gorgeous food scene of Bordeaux are these white wines. And we forget that there are prestigious red wines, but the white wines are as prestigious, if in most cases not quite as expensive. So this is a Semillon. This is 2022. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is because The wine I tasted at a press tasting was 2021, which was absolutely delicious. But there's no reason why 2022 shouldn't be as delicious. 21 was a bit cooler. 22 was a good vintage, ripe. But yeah, this is the first time I'm tasting this vintage. I studied winemaking in Bordeaux, and just smelling that, just a million memories just came back to me. There's a whiff. Some waxy lemons, elderflower, very strong elderflower, gooseberry. There's this kind of combination of smells that when I smell that I go, oh, I'm in Bordeaux, it can't be anywhere else. And of course it could be somewhere else, but often not. This is 13.5% alcohol, so it's a full-bodied wine. It's a wine that we know is capable of aging beautifully for probably between 5 and 10 years. And this wine has just been bottled, so it's got a long way ahead of it. Absolutely phenomenal with smoked salmon mousse, with prawny things. I mean, you can see that I eat quite a lot of seafood because I've mentioned it an awful lot. Tight, youthful. This one probably needs about 10 minutes open just to give it a chance to settle down, because that's quite a punchy little monkey. That's got lots of flavour. It's got beautiful, very expensive, exquisite oak management. There's a lovely veneer of pure vanilla around the outside, a bit banana-y almost. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Kieran. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Sarah. And thank you for everybody else. Sorry I've missed out the people, the other people that I could have mentioned, Tom as well. This is a real treat. This is Co-op's white wines, which I recommend you drink this winter. They sent them all, so I'm opening them all. And in the next show, we're going to do 8 red wines. Codorniu, very good, £10. Pionniers, Piper Heidsieck Champagne, £21.50. £8.50 for a delicious Marsanne, absolutely delicious quaffable wine. For an extra 50p, you get something with a bit more guts, very tropical, delicious. If you like your fruity wines, you'll love that. An extra £3 and you're buying something a bit more saline, a bit more grown up, a bit more food friendly with the Albariño from Codorniu. You've got Larry Cherubino's entry level Western Australian Chardonnay, bit of a cracker that. Right at the end here, we've got the queen of the lot. This is an elegant, fabulous, but hugely capable and age-worthy white wine. And actually, if you want to buy a wine for somebody as a gift, and you know they like white wine, but they also might want to keep it for a special occasion, you really can't go wrong with that. This is absolute class in every way. See you next time for some reds.